Toyota has built up a reputation of reliability, not just in a few models, but across the entire dang brand. The Toyota production system and the fundamentals of Jidoka have been adopted by other companies as well.
Some cars just keep showing up, still running, still hauling, still starting every morning with nothing more than oil, coolant, and a little respect. Toyota has built more than a few of these iron-willed machines, vehicles that outlast owners, jobs, and even paved roads. This list isn't about hype or luxury badges. It's about old Toyotas that simply refuse to die. We'll look at what makes each one so durable, what to watch out for when buying, and the small habits that keep them going. Fluids, filters, rust control, and fixing the little stuff before it becomes the big stuff. If you want a dependable daily, a cheap second car, a road trip warrior, or a truck that shrugs at hard work, you'll find it here. Let's count down 12 old Toyotas that are still quietly doing what they've always done. Everything you ask. Number 12. Toyota Tercel, the simple commuter that keeps going. Before Toyota's lineup was filled with Corollas, Camrys, and hybrids, there was the Tercel, a small, unassuming commuter car that quietly helped build Toyota's reputation for dependability. Produced from the late 1970s through the 1990s, the Tercel was the kind of car you didn't notice until you realized it was still running 20 years later. The Tercel was Toyota's entry-level model, designed to be affordable, efficient, and easy to maintain. With a tiny four-cylinder engine, simple carbureted systems in the early years, and fuel injection later on, the Tercel never aimed to be powerful. Instead, it was designed to be reliable above all else. The low horsepower meant the engines were never stressed, and the lightweight design meant brakes, suspension, and even tires lasted longer than they would on heavier cars. One of the keys to the Tercel's survival was its simplicity. These cars were built before electronics began running everything. That means when something did fail, it was usually mechanical, straightforward, and cheap to fix. A leaky water pump, a couple bolts, and a new gasket, a failing alternator? You could replace it in your driveway with basic tools. And because millions of Tercels were sold worldwide, parts remain abundant. Of course, Tercels aren't perfect. Rust is their biggest enemy, especially in states with salted winter roads. The rocker panels and wheel wells often rot if not cared for, and interiors can feel flimsy after decades. But mechanically, they just keep running. Many Tercel owners have driven them past 300,000 miles, often on original engines and transmissions. What makes the Tercel refuse to die is the fact that it asks for so little. It doesn't demand premium fuel, it doesn't require complex diagnostics, and it doesn't care if you neglect it a little. As long as you give it oil changes, coolant, and timing belt replacements on schedule, the Tercel will cheerfully keep getting you to work decades after most cars are gone. Number 11. Toyota Corolla, 90s mid-2000s, the blueprint for longevity. The Toyota Corolla is not just a car, it's a symbol of reliability. While every generation of Corolla has a reputation for durability, the models from the 1990s through the mid-2000s are the ones that cemented its status as the car that never quits. These were the cars you'd see parked outside apartment complexes with faded paint and dented doors, still starting every morning with a turn of the key. Part of the Corolla's secret is its conservative engineering. Toyota never tried to squeeze too much power out of its engines. The 1.6 and 1.8-liter four-cylinders of the time weren't flashy, but they were practically unbreakable. With fuel injection, timing chains or long-life belts, and minimal stress on internal parts, these engines would just keep going. It wasn't unusual for owners to hit 200,000 or 300,000 miles with only basic maintenance. Another factor was how widespread the Corolla was. Millions were sold globally, which meant parts were, and still are, cheap and easy to find. Everything from brake pads to radiators to alternators could be picked up at any parts store for a reasonable price. And because every mechanic in the world has worked on a Corolla, labor was cheap too. There are a few things to watch for on these older models. Oil consumption became an issue in some early 2000s Corollas, meaning owners had to top up between oil changes. Rust in snowy states was also a problem, particularly in the rear subframe and brake lines. But these were minor compared to the overall bulletproof nature of the car. What really made the Corolla special was its ability to fade into the background. It wasn't flashy, but it was always there. Families handed them down to kids, who then drove them to college, who then sold them to neighbors who needed a cheap second car. And in many cases, those Corollas are still running today. Why does it refuse to die? Because Toyota engineered it not for short-term thrills, but for long-term dependability. Every component was designed to be easy on itself. No unnecessary stress, no complicated systems to fail. The Corolla simply does its job, year after year, without asking for much in return. Number 10. Toyota Camry, 90s, early 2000s, the family sedan that outlives families. If the Corolla is the king of compact reliability, the Camry is the undisputed champion of mid-size durability. From the early 1990s through the early 2000s, Toyota built Camrys that could rack up 300,000 miles while barely breaking a sweat. These were the cars that defined the phrase, "set it and forget it." The Camry of this era was designed to be the ultimate family sedan, comfortable, quiet, efficient, and incredibly tough. The four-cylinder models in particular became famous for their longevity. Under-stressed engines, smooth automatic transmissions, and conservative gearing meant these cars were never pushed beyond their limits. Even the V6 models held up well if properly maintained, though the four-cylinder remains the longer-lasting option. Owners loved the Camry because it didn't ask for much. Oil changes, fluid flushes, timing belt replacements where necessary, and that was it. Suspension components lasted longer than average, and when they did wear out, replacements were cheap. Even little things like window regulators and door locks were more durable than those in rival sedans. Rust could be an issue in snow-heavy states, and high-mileage cars sometimes suffered from worn motor mounts and leaky valve cover gaskets. But these were small prices to pay for a car that otherwise just kept going. Many Camrys from this era are still on the road today, often with faded paint and sagging headliners, but with drivetrains that feel as solid as ever. What made the Camry special was how invisible it was in daily life. Families bought them, drove them for a decade, then passed them down, where they continued serving as commuter cars, student cars, or workhorses. They rarely broke down, rarely stranded owners, and always seemed to have another 50,000 miles left in them. Why does it refuse to die? Because the Camry was engineered around the idea of mechanical kindness. Nothing was designed to be cutting-edge or overly complicated. Everything was designed to last. And it did. The Camry became the car that families could count on, no matter how many miles they put on it. Number 9. Toyota Avalon, '90s, early 2000s. The Avalon was Toyota's answer to the American full-size sedan. And while it didn't grab headlines like the Camry or Corolla, it quietly built a reputation for durability that still stands today. Think of it as a stretched Camry with a smoother V6, more interior room, and a design focused on long-distance comfort. What buyers got, though, was more than just space. They got one of the longest-lasting sedans of its era. At the heart of the Avalon was Toyota's 3.0-liter V6, a silky smooth engine that combined refined performance with bulletproof reliability. Properly maintained, these engines easily passed 250,000 miles without major issues. The automatic transmissions paired with them were geared for relaxed cruising, which reduced internal stress and kept failures rare. Toyota also used oversized cooling systems, so overheating was almost unheard of. One of the secrets to the Avalon's longevity was how conservatively it was built. Toyota didn't try to reinvent the wheel. Instead, they took proven Camry components and scaled them up. Suspension, brakes, and electrical systems were straightforward, meaning repairs were cheap and easy. For owners who kept up with regular maintenance, oil changes, timing belt replacements, and fluid flushes, the Avalon just kept running like clockwork. That's not to say they're perfect. Older Avalons can develop worn suspension bushings, tired struts, and sagging motor mounts, which can make the ride feel loose. Rust is another issue in northern climates, particularly in the rear wheel arches. Still, most of these are cosmetic or easily fixed. What makes the Avalon refuse to die is how gently it was used. Many were bought by older drivers who treated them carefully and maintained them well. Combine that with Toyota's already rock-solid engineering, and you have a car that still feels dependable even 2 decades later. Number 8. Toyota Tacoma, first generation. When people talk about Toyota toughness, the first-generation Tacoma is always part of the conversation. Built from the mid-1990s through the early 2000s, this compact pickup has earned legendary status for its ability to take abuse and keep going. Whether it's working construction sites, hauling loads, or tackling off-road trails, the Tacoma built a reputation for being nearly unkillable. The key to the Tacoma's durability lies in its design. Toyota built it on a traditional body-on-frame platform with simple, robust drivetrains. The 2.4 and 2.7-liter four-cylinder engines were basic but nearly indestructible, and the 3.4-liter V6 became famous for its ability to rack up 500,000 miles when maintained. Manual transmissions were nearly bomb-proof, while even the automatics had long service lives if their fluid was changed. Owners love the Tacoma because it can handle anything. It hauls, tows, and climbs without complaint. Aftermarket support is enormous, meaning parts are always available and often cheap. The simplicity of the design makes repairs easy for anyone with basic tools. The one real Achilles heel of the first-gen Tacoma is frame rust. Toyota eventually had to issue recalls for severe corrosion, especially in northern states where salt ate away at the underbody. For buyers today, the first step in evaluating one is always a careful inspection underneath. Beyond that, suspension wear, head gaskets on the early 3.0-liter V6 before the 3.4, and worn interiors are the only real concerns. What makes the Tacoma refuse to die is its overbuilt nature. It was designed for hard work, and even after decades of abuse, it keeps going. That's why you still see first-gen Tacomas on the road today, often with odometers well past 300,000 miles. Number 7. Toyota 4Runner, third generation. The third-generation 4Runner, built from 1996 to 2002, is one of Toyota's most respected SUVs, and for good reason. Combining the ruggedness of a truck with the comfort of a family vehicle, the 4Runner became a favorite for people who wanted one car that could do it all. Today, many are still running strong, a testament to Toyota's design. The 4Runner's most famous engine is the 3.4-liter V6, an absolute workhorse known for its balance of power and reliability. Paired with either a manual or automatic transmission, it could handle city streets, long highway drives, or rugged off-road trails. The body-on-frame design gave it toughness, while the solid suspension made it durable without feeling crude. What really sets the 4Runner apart is how well it was engineered for global use. Many of its components were shared with Toyota's Hilux and Prado models abroad, vehicles built to handle some of the harshest conditions on Earth. That means the drivetrain, transfer case, and differentials were designed with reliability first. The biggest issue, like with the Tacoma, is frame rust. Northern models can suffer severe corrosion, particularly in the rear. Power windows and sunroofs can also fail, but those are minor compared to the mechanical strength of the vehicle. With routine care, timing belts, fluids, suspension refreshes, the 4Runner can easily push past 400,000 miles. Why does it refuse to die? Because it was built with the soul of a truck and the heart of a Toyota. For many owners, it remains the SUV that never quits, whether it's hauling gear for a weekend camping trip or commuting every day decades after it left the showroom. Number 6. Toyota Land Cruiser, 80s-2000s. Few vehicles in history have the kind of reputation the Toyota Land Cruiser enjoys. From the deserts of the Middle East to the jungles of South America, it's known as the truck that simply does not quit. Models like the 60, 80, and early 100 series are legendary not just in the US, but worldwide. They were built with one purpose: to survive anywhere, under any conditions. The Land Cruiser's strength starts with its engines. The inline-six engines of the 60 and 80 series are slow by modern standards, but they're practically impossible to wear out. They run cool, use thick cast-iron blocks, and were built to handle poor fuel quality in remote regions. The later 4.7-liter V8 in the 100 series added more power while keeping Toyota's reputation for longevity. With basic maintenance, these engines are easily capable of running for 500,000 miles. Then, there's the drivetrain. Toyota equipped the Land Cruiser with oversized transmissions, stout differentials, and transfer cases that could take a lifetime of abuse. Many of these components were borrowed from Toyota's commercial and military trucks, which meant they were engineered for far harsher conditions than the average driver would ever see. The weak point, as with many Toyotas, is rust. Frames and body panels on older Land Cruisers can deteriorate badly in salty climates. Suspension components eventually need refreshing, and fuel economy is poor by modern standards. But the simple truth is, those are small flaws compared to what you get. Why does the Land Cruiser refuse to die? Because it was designed to work in the most extreme environments on Earth. If a vehicle can cross deserts, climb mountains, and survive war zones, then suburban commutes and road trips are nothing. That's why Land Cruisers from decades ago are still running today. often in the very places most vehicles never last at all. Number 5. Toyota Hilux. Even if you've never driven one, chances are you've heard of the Toyota Hilux. It's the pickup that's become almost mythical for its toughness. Famous worldwide, the Hilux has been used by farmers, construction crews, militaries, and adventurers for decades. In the US, it disappeared in the mid-1990s when Toyota shifted to the Tacoma, but its reputation lives on. The Hilux is built on a simple formula: rugged body-on-frame construction, small engines tuned for reliability, and drivetrains designed to be serviced anywhere in the world. Many came with naturally aspirated diesel engines that ran forever with little more than fuel and oil changes. The manual gearboxes are almost unbreakable, and the differentials are heavy-duty enough to handle decades of abuse. Globally, the Hilux became the truck you could count on when everything else failed. In Africa, it's used as a workhorse on farms and for long-haul transport over punishing terrain. In Australia, it's the go-to choice for ranchers and miners. Even in conflict zones, the Hilux is trusted because it keeps going no matter what. For US buyers, older Hilux trucks can be found through imports, though frame rust is always the #1 concern. Early carbureted models require occasional tuning, but once sorted, they'll run forever. Interiors are basic, but that's part of the appeal. There's less to break. What makes the Hilux refuse to die is its near-indestructible simplicity. Toyota built it to be abused, neglected, and still keep moving. If you want proof, just look around the world. Decades-old Hilux trucks are still hauling, still climbing, still running strong. Number 4. Toyota Prius, first and second generation. When the Prius first launched in the late 1990s, many people doubted it. Critics said hybrids were complicated, fragile, and destined to fail early. 2 decades later, the Prius proved them all wrong. The first and second generation models are among the longest-lasting cars Toyota ever made, with many clocking over 300,000 miles in taxi fleets and rideshare service. The Prius succeeded because Toyota engineered the hybrid system to be conservative. The gasoline engine doesn't run all the time, which actually reduces wear compared to traditional engines. The electric motor and battery are designed with wide safety margins, so they rarely experience stress that shortens their life. Cooling systems for both the engine and battery are oversized, keeping temperatures under control in every climate. The drivetrain itself is a marvel of reliability. The planetary gear system in the Prius transmission has almost no wear parts compared to conventional automatics, which means failures are almost unheard of. While many feared battery pack replacements would be expensive, Toyota designed them to last far longer than expected. Even when they do fail, replacement costs today are a fraction of what they once were, making old Priuses economical even decades later. The weaknesses are minor. Battery cooling fans need cleaning, especially in cars exposed to dust or pet hair. Some first-gen models had failing instrument clusters, but fixes are available. Suspension and brakes wear with mileage, but parts are cheap and easy to replace. Why does the Prius refuse to die? Because Toyota designed it to be boringly reliable. Taxi drivers proved it by running them non-stop for years, often with minimal downtime. What was once doubted is now respected. The Prius turned out to be one of Toyota's most quietly durable cars ever. Number 3. Toyota Matrix, 2000s. The Toyota Matrix doesn't always get the spotlight when people talk about Toyota's most reliable cars, but it deserves a place on this list. Introduced in the early 2000s, the Matrix was essentially a Corolla hatchback, and that's exactly why it lasts so long. By borrowing the Corolla's proven drivetrain and combining it with extra practicality, Toyota created a vehicle that's still running strong today. Under the hood, most Matrix models came with the 1.8-liter four-cylinder, a power plant famous for its ability to soldier on past 300,000 miles with little more than routine maintenance. Some higher-performance XRS models came with the 1.8-liter VTLI engine, which produced more power but required more diligent oil changes. Either way, the formula worked: simple, reliable, and easy to maintain. Because it shared so much with the Corolla, the Matrix benefited from cheap, widely available parts. Need a new alternator, water pump, or starter? They're everywhere, and they're inexpensive. Suspension pieces, brakes, and even transmission components are common across multiple Toyota models, making repairs quick and affordable. The Matrix's hatchback design added another layer of practicality. The fold-flat rear seats and durable cargo floor made it a favorite for small families, delivery drivers, and anyone who needed SUV-like function without SUV fuel costs. Many were driven hard in cities, but kept going strong thanks to Toyota's proven engineering. Weaknesses are predictable. Struts, bushings, and motor mounts wear with age. Some models suffer from hatch leaks if the seals aren't maintained. Rust is less of an issue than in trucks, but wheel wells and underbody areas in salted regions still deserve inspection. Why does the Matrix refuse to die? Because it's a Corolla in disguise. Toyota took one of its most bulletproof platforms and made it even more useful, resulting in a car that still serves as a dependable daily driver decades later. Number 2. Toyota Sequoia, first generation. When Toyota launched the Sequoia in the early 2000s, it was their first attempt at a true full-size SUV designed for American families. Built on the Tundra pickup platform, the Sequoia quickly established itself as one of the toughest big SUVs you could buy. 2 decades later, many first-gen Sequoias are still going strong, with odometers that look more like truck logbooks than family cars. The star of the Sequoia is its engine, the 4.7-liter V8. This engine is regarded as one of Toyota's finest, with a reputation for running 500,000 miles when maintained. Paired with a sturdy automatic transmission and heavy-duty drivetrain components, the Sequoia was engineered for towing, hauling, and long-distance travel. Families may have bought it for road trips, but Toyota built it tough enough for commercial use. One reason the Sequoia lasts is how forgiving it is. Even if owners skipped a few maintenance intervals, the engine and transmission often kept going. Cooling systems were generous, suspension components were durable, and the electrical systems were simple compared to today's SUVs. When parts did wear out, they were often shared with the Tundra, making replacements easy to find. Of course, there are a few weak spots. Frame rust is a major concern in snowy states, just like on other Toyota trucks. Oxygen sensors and catalytic converters sometimes fail, but these are wear items. Interiors, while spacious, can show their age with cracked leather or worn plastics. Still, none of these problems stop a Sequoia from doing what it was built to do. Why does the Sequoia refuse to die? Because Toyota built it like a truck, not just a family hauler. It's one of the rare full-size SUVs that combines comfort with legendary durability, which is why so many are still on the road today, long after rivals have been junked. Number 1. Toyota Corolla, classic 70s to 80s models. The modern Corolla's reputation for reliability is well known, but the legend truly began with the models from the 1970s and 1980s. These cars were Toyota's global ambassadors, proving that a small, affordable car could outlast almost anything else on the road. In countries around the world, classic Corollas are still running today, decades after they first rolled off the line. The engines in these Corollas were about as simple as it gets. Carbureted 4 cylinders, modest horsepower, and robust cast-iron blocks meant they could tolerate poor fuel and minimal maintenance. Manual transmissions were nearly indestructible, and even the automatics were tough for their time. With so few electronics, there was very little to fail. Part of the Corolla's durability came from its global reach. Toyota built them to survive in places where service was minimal, parts were scarce, and roads were rough. That meant oversized cooling systems, durable suspensions, and easy-to-repair components. Farmers used them, taxi drivers abused them, and families handed them down from one generation to the next. The biggest threat to these cars was rust. Many were lost to corrosion long before their engines gave out. But in dry climates, they just kept running. Even today, enthusiasts track down well-preserved examples because they know the mechanicals will still be solid. Why does the classic Corolla refuse to die? Because it was built with a simple mission: to work. No frills, no gimmicks, just straightforward engineering that put durability above everything else. These cars laid the foundation for Toyota's reputation, proving that reliability wasn't just a marketing slogan, it was a way of building cars. Looking back at these 12 old Toyotas, a pattern becomes clear. None of them were designed to impress with flashy horsepower numbers or bleeding-edge technology. Instead, they were engineered with restraint, with the understanding that longevity mattered more than bragging rights. Toyota consistently chose simplicity, conservatism, and durability over trends, and that's why so many of these cars are still with us today. Whether it's the humble Tercel, the legendary Corolla, or the unstoppable Land Cruiser, each of these vehicles represents Toyota's core philosophy: build something that works, and build it to last. Owners often describe their old Toyotas as just getting better with age, not because they magically improve, but because they remain dependable long after most cars would have given up.